33 times you've done this now for a professional fight. How's this prep and camp so far compared?
Yeah, best one yet. I just feel like I'm making huge strides every camp, every fight. I get better at my craft. I find things that work for me and change things up a lot just to get the best results out of myself. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. You can see that with the frequency in which I've fought this year, and yeah.
As someone you've done a bit of work with in the past, did you find time to watch Tim Zoo's fight yesterday, or have you caught up since?
No, I've been just in a bunker here, mate. It's been keeping my head down and just zoning out.
Fair enough. You would have seen that UFC 312 was announced in Sydney last week. I had a look. You haven't fought in your hometown since you beat Clint Hester in 2014. What do you remember from that fight?
It was a different sort of experience fighting in Sydney. It was like after being in the UFC, it was like 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 a flashback, like a nostalgic feeling of fighting. Because I fought locally in my area, so it was cool. It was very cool.
You mentioned it just before. This is your third fight in 2024. The last time you had three fights in a year was that same year, 2014. What do you put that down to?
Uh, Mate, it's just sometimes how the wind blows. It's I've been focusing on myself. I've been doing a lot of the right things. I've been putting a lot of things in place to make sure that I can, that I'm healthy. I can bring the best out of myself, and it's all coming together.
There were a few years there where you sort of had a bad run, be it injuries or illness or whatever. Do you think that was more or less bad luck, or what you're doing now has kind of mitigated the chances of those things happening?
Um, Mate, it's life. You live and learn sort of thing. It's can't control all factors, but I do know that I am ticking more boxes today than I was then.
It looks like Dricus, Duplessis, and Sean Strickland is going to happen, possibly in Sydney. That's from what we're reading. Who do you favour in that rematch to win?
Dricus. I think Dricus is a very hard guy to to beat. You know.
Any particular reason? Just all round game and or how he matches up with
Um,
Strickland?
he's a tough guy. You kind of got to take the fight to him completely, like for the entire fight, and you need to have the same level of resolve as he does to beat him.
How would you approach that fight differently if it came your way?
I'm gonna take the fight to him for 25 minutes. Like 25 minutes, I'm gonna make it a slugfest and just revel in it.
Should you win this week against Khamzat, is there a chance that you would fight in Sydney even if it wasn't for the title or at all?
Mate, worry about that after. You know.
I think it's around 6 weeks since I spoke to you after you had that sparring session with Jai. You would have had plenty of time to think about this coming fight. Are you someone who just kind of locks in and until you fight, it's kind of all you think about, or have you been able to switch off a bit here and there?
No, I don't think about it at all. Like at all until I don't know, until like fight day, preferably. Yeah, there's a fair whack of time before now and then.
Has the game plan or anything changed as you've gone through this camp or areas you've been focusing on?
No, we feel like obviously we feel we had a good game plan in the first fight, but we've just refined it all and made it all a lot better. So I'm locked and loaded. Like I said, I've ticked every box. I've left no stone unturned, and I look forward to getting in there and putting myself to the test.
How much, I suppose, if you could like do a breakdown of the percentages, how much of your camp would you devote to wrestling normally, and how much would it be for this fight, if that makes sense?
Oh mate, there's a fair whack. I'm gonna say 50%. 50%.
And would that be how much you would normally for I don't know if when you're
More or
fighting.
less, we don't like we don't like leaving stones unturned. You know, we don't like not covering all our bases because as soon as you start focusing too much on one side of things, you leave yourself open for the other angles. So we cover our bases very well. Obviously, wrestling was heavily focused on during this camp, but yeah, we're pretty well rounded.
Obviously, you worked on your boxing, sparring with Jai, and kickboxing, sparring with Charlie Bubb, I think it was. You mentioned. What about wrestling? Have you brought guys into camp, or how have you kind of covered that?
Yeah, definitely. You know, one of my training partners is Jaden. Um, we he just got back from the Olympics. You know, he medaled in the Commonwealth Games. You know, and he's a pretty decent caliber of body to work with. Plus, all my training partners that I have there, they're all professional fighters. A lot of them, like Jacob Malkoon, fights in the UFC as well. Like I have covered my bases.
Specifically, when it comes to wrestling, how would you compare where you're at now to say the Rob who fought Yoel or Jacare Brunson, that kind of era?
Yeah, technically I'm way better. Way better. I've just added so many. I have so much more experience and I've added so many more nodules to the belt.
When you think about this fight, how do you picture it? How does it look? I suppose tactically or stylistically.
I figure like he's going to come out hard and I'm going to come out hard as well. And I'm not going to take my foot off the pedal. And I just don't think he'll be able to keep up with me. You know, the aggression that I'm going to show and the resilience and just the refusal to go away.
That sounds like a recipe for the fight not going the full 25 minutes. Is that kind of what you're picturing?
Mate, hopefully.
What um what kind of reception did you get from the crowd at your last fight in Riyadh, and what are you expecting from this one?
Um I got booed the last fight and I expect to be booed this fight as well.
Do you find that odd at all? Like you're probably one of the most popular guys going around the UFC. Do you find it odd when when you're not the most popular guy?
Nah, it doesn't bother me.